The structures on the surfaces of viruses and bacteria are fractals. Every day, we live alongside tiny microscopic beings that are invisible to the naked eye. These include viruses and bacteria. Because both can cause disease, many people think they're the same kind of thing. But are they really the same? In fact, viruses and bacteria function in completely different ways. Bacteria are single-celled living things. They can obtain nutrients on their own, grow by themselves, and reproduce through cell division to create identical bacteria. Under favorable conditions, they can multiply very quickly. Viruses, on the other hand, cannot survive on their own. They consist mainly of genetic material enclosed in a protein coat. Because of this, they must enter the cells of another living thing in order to reproduce. Are viruses living things or non-living things? This is why scientists often describe viruses as existing somewhere between living and non-living matter. Viruses come in many different shapes. Some are rod-shaped, some are round like spheres, and some have highly complex forms like icosahedrons. Have you ever seen an image of the COVID-19 virus? Its surface is covered with tiny protrusions packed tightly together. These protrusions are called spike proteins. Scientists have discovered fractal properties in these spike proteins. A fractal is a structure in which similar patterns repeat even when a small part is enlarged. Fractals often appear in nature, including in tree branches, lightning, and broccoli. Isn't it fascinating that fractal structures can also be found on the surface of microscopic viruses? Spike proteins help viruses attach to cells. In simple terms, they act like keys that unlock the doors of cells. However, fractal structures can change shape very easily. As a result, viruses can mutate rapidly. By the time our immune cells recognize and attack a virus, it may already have changed into a new form. This is one reason why the COVID-19 virus continued to produce new variants. However, viruses also have weaknesses. The membrane surrounding the spike proteins is very fragile and can be easily destroyed with soap alone. Why do we learn that hand washing is so important? Because proper hand washing can destroy the structure of viruses. Now let us take a closer look at bacteria. Bacteria are classified as prokaryotes. They do not have a separate nucleus inside their cells, and their structure is relatively simple. Some bacteria move using long, tail-like flagella, while others use pili to attach themselves to cells in our bodies. Interestingly, fractal structures also appear when bacteria multiply. As bacteria reproduce, they spread outward into empty surrounding spaces. At first, the pattern may seem random, but over time, complex motifs with consistent rules begin to form. These motifs resemble the spreading forms of ice crystals or tree branches. Why does nature so often create repeating structures like these? In 1961, physical chemist Murray Eden introduced the Eden growth model, which explains how bacteria spread. A bacterium selects one empty space along the edge and creates a new cell there. When this simple process is repeated over and over, surprisingly complex fractal patterns emerge. Isn't it amazing that such large patterns can emerge from such simple repeating rules? Antibiotics are used to treat bacterial infections. They interfere with the activities bacteria need in order to survive. One common method is preventing bacteria from building their cell walls. Bacterial cell walls contain a special layer called peptidoglycan, which human cells do not have. Because of this, antibiotics can target bacteria more precisely than the cells of the human body. However, problems arose when people began using antibiotics too often. Some bacteria appeared that could survive even in the presence of antibiotics. These are called antibiotic-resistant bacteria, or superbugs. During cell division, errors sometimes occur when bacteria copy their DNA, and by chance, mutations that resist antibiotics may appear. The surviving bacteria continue to reproduce and eventually form stronger bacterial populations. Humans develop antibiotics, while viruses and bacteria constantly change in order to survive. Even in the microscopic world of microorganisms, mathematical patterns of repetition and change can be found. What do you think? Isn't it remarkable that mathematical patterns such as fractals exist even in the tiny, invisible world around us?